It's hump day, people halfway there. Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith. Good morning, gentlemen.
How you doing?
What's up?
How we feeling?
I'm good. I'm good. How y'all doing?
I'm good.
Ready
Let's
to
go.
roll.
All right, let's get into it. You know where we're starting, with those Houston Texans. After losing Pro Bowl linebacker Brian Cushing in the season opener, the Texans' best player, defensive end J.J. Watt, has re-injured his back and will be placed on injured reserve today, which was first reported by NFL.com and confirmed by ESPN. He can return to practice after 6 weeks and to game action after 8 weeks, though a source telling Ed Warder that Watt is likely done for the season. He's never missed a game in his 6-year NFL career. Very impressive. J.J. Watt was voted the best player in the NFL by his peers in 2015. Stephen A., is his career in jeopardy?
It's in jeopardy. It's in jeopardy. I'm not going to say it's over, because somehow, some way you can find a way to play. And when you're elite to the level that he is, there's room to dissipate to some degree and still be somewhat serviceable. But we all know that when you're that great, you don't stick around to be serviceable. Not for very long anyway, because you're embarrassed by the fact that you're serviceable. And as a result, you look to do something else. In the case of the Houston Texans, let's take into consideration the fact that we're talking about a guy that's the reigning 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 3 times of the last 5 years, rather. When you consider that, and the fact that they're the number 7th ranked defense, number 1 against the pass, losing him is going to have a profound effect on this defense. There's no question about it. They were already ranking 26th against the run, Max. We understand that. But to answer the question about J.J. Watt directly, I would say he's in a world of trouble, and here's why. I'm saying this because it's the back. And when it's the back, look, basketball players are hampered when they got back. Not to bring up your personal business, but there have been times, Matt Kellerman, where you have not looked like 100% because of the back. Okay, right, the back is no joke. Well, what is this guy? He's a defensive lineman. So you're talking about bending down, which is going to be hurt in and of itself. Then getting up, immediately engaging in contact resistance, that kind of thing. That position is one of the worst positions to actually play when you do have a back injury, because you're immobile. You certainly don't have the strength that you would like, because even though you got to have powerful legs, at the same time your back's got to be strong. I don't know how we can sit here and legitimately say, listen, the guy had 3 surgeries last year, okay? And he came back from all of that. So this may very well be an Adrian Peterson-like dude. But until we see it, I don't know if we can definitively say, oh, there's nothing to be concerned about whatsoever. He'll just rehabilitate for the next few months. He'll be just fine. It's his back. And because of that, I must confess to you, I sit here incredibly concerned about the future of J.J. Watt. I don't know if he'll ever be the same, and I don't know if he'll ever be elite. Not if these back injuries continue to hamper him.
Well, he won't be, to answer your question, but you're wrong about this being the end. Look, the back it's a bad thing, although Tony Romo had back surgery, herniated discs, came back to play. Gronk had herniated
quarterback,
discs.
tight end.
You're right, tight end. Marcellus Wiley, my former broadcast partner, herniated disc surgery, came back to play. But he will not, look, let's put it this way. Here's the headline. The J.J. Watt era, which is the defensive era we've been in, has been the J.J. Watt era, is over. It may have been over anyway. 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. Willie McGinnis had a great article last year at some point comparing the prime of J.J. Watt to the prime of Lawrence Taylor. And it's comparable. I mean, not quite as good as LT, but comparable. He's on that level. And the question with Watt was simply, what's the longevity going to be? Because you knew eventually someone like maybe Aaron Donald, maybe Kuechly, maybe Von Miller, someone else who's younger and ascending would pass J.J. Watt as he started to descend. But it's over now. I mean, the only question was with J.J. Watt, what would the longevity look like, even if he's not at his very peak, as he declined? Could he have a Bruce Smith, Reggie White kind of career in terms of how long he could stay effective at an elite level, if not the elite level? And the answer I think we have now is not going to be able to do it going forward. Not at the Reggie White level, certainly. But I do think he can play many more years in some diminished capacity.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm willing to give him that because of who he is and the way he plays the game. And guys like this, listen, when you're great, you don't stay around for a lengthy period of time being mediocre. If you can't sustain a certain level of greatness, you'd rather walk away than people sitting around chronicling your demise. I think J.J. Watt is one of those dudes. And as a result, I think right now you have to look at the Houston Texans and you have to say to yourself, what's life going to be like without this guy? Because I don't know if we're going to have a... I'm looking at this schedule right here. They're lucky they're in the AFC South, to be quite honest with you. With Indianapolis, with Jacksonville, with Tennessee, you know, you sort of get a reprieve to some degree. I'm also interested in seeing what Jadeveon Clowney, your boy, does now that J.J. Watt is out.
I don't know if he's still my boy after that performance against the Patriots.
I'm just saying, my point to you is, if you're Jadeveon Clowney, particularly with Watt not being there, you actually should have been helped by Watt's presence. But now we're going to really see what the former #1 overall pick is made of, because if you got in it kind of hard and J.J. Watt goes out, and you play a similar position, you go like this: I got you, big bro. I got you. Now's my time. Let's see what Jadeveon Clowney does. But getting back to Houston, I'm looking at the schedule, Max Kellerman. Got Tennessee next, then at Minnesota, then another AFC South game in Indy, then at Denver, then in Detroit, then there's a bye week, then they're at Jacksonville.
Oh, they're in big trouble. They're in big trouble.
They're in a world of trouble.
If we're talking about Houston this year, before J.J. Watt came, they were no good. And then they've been good for that weak division since he's been on top. My point is, you look at, look, McGinnis was comparing Watt to LT. The quality of their primes are comparable.
Right.
And part of what he brought up is the way LT abused himself versus the way Watt has taken care of himself. There was a good chance that Watt could continue the quality of his prime for a longer period of time. That ship has sailed with, I think, with the herniated discs, and now he's going to need surgery. However, if you're talking about sticking around, not at the elite, think about LT. He went into Super Bowl 25 after winning the MVP as a defensive player, Super Bowl 21, beating Elway and them. He went into Super Bowl 25 against the Bills. He wasn't the best defensive player in that game. The LT era was already over. It was the Bruce Smith era. Heading into that game, the biggest, baddest defensive dude on the field was Bruce Smith. So LT hung around post-peak for several years as a very good player. No longer the MVP caliber player, as Watt has also been an MVP caliber player. He's actually in the conversation in this day and age, which is amazing when non-quarterbacks get love that way.
I think his position is too limited for him to have ever been in a conversation of league MVP.
Okay, but he has been. Like we discussed it on this show, even if you took the other side, and others have also. That ship has sailed. That era's over. But like LT, he can still be a good, effective player for years to come.
And where you and I go off the rails is that where we differ is that I don't believe J.J. Watt will stay around just to be a decent
He loves football, though, man. He's got the love.
I don't see him being that dude. I see him being the guy that if he can't be himself, if it's too painful for him, if it's limiting him too much, I see him moving on.
Let's transition to the team, though, because there's a lot of promise for this Houston Texans team going into the season. And a source telling Adam Schefter that Watt's injury doesn't look good. To replace him, the Texans plan to re-sign defensive end Antonio Smith. Max, what does this injury mean now for the Texans moving forward?
They're in big trouble this year, as Stephen A. just went over. Just remember what you thought of the Texans before Watt. The story of the Texans, they keep getting the #1 overall pick, and nothing seems to happen. Watt shows up, boom, they win the division every year. Just like that. He has that kind of impact. Well, there are a lot of moving parts to a football team that every now and then a defensive player comes along that has that kind of an impact on a team. Deion Sanders, once upon a time, symbolized, he represented the balance of power in football. If he went to a good team, that team win the Super Bowl. He was that good. LT, I'd mentioned, Bruce Smith, Reggie White. There's some guys who have that kind of outsized impact. That was J.J. Watt. Without J.J. Watt, Stephen A., this division, which is weak to begin with, it was questionable whether they win it anyway, especially the way they looked against the Patriots. Oh, they're in big trouble. I don't think they win the division without Watt.
Listen, you could say they're in big trouble, but you can't close the door on the possibility that they can still win the AFC South. You know why? Because it's the AFC South. Indianapolis's defense, even though it was a little bit better last week, the bottom line is it's been a question mark for this team. We know what Andrew Luck could do, but their running game has been suspect. The offensive line is definitely suspect. Their defense is suspect. The Tennessee Titans, Marcus Mariota Mariota in his second year, he's had some up and down moments. He has promise. We believe in him, but still, there's question marks in Tennessee. And don't get me started with Jacksonville.
I think they're going to come around.
Listen. You know what? When they come around, call me. I mean, here's my phone. You got the number. You and I holler all the time. Call me. I'll get on the phone because we got a guy we got a future stud in Jalen Ramsey that's made noise talking about folks, just talking smack to the Steve Smith.
After he did his job, he shut him down.
Let me finish. You haven't won anything yet.
Literally no games.
Literally no games. You are 0-for. You're 0-3, and you're a rookie. You should be allergic to opening your mouth at this particular juncture.
Don't listen to him, Jalen. Keep doing your thing.
You should be allergic to opening your mouth at this particular juncture because the priority should be winning. It shouldn't be about you. That's number one. Number two, Gus Bradley about to get himself fired. Now, I like this guy, okay? And I thought that he's got a lot of problems.
Like playing for him too.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Molly Wood coming to the rescue. Because I'm so touched that you brought that up. Because, see, that's a little pet peeve that I had. I'm one of those dudes, Max, Molly. When I hear about players loving their coach, the first thing I'm thinking about is firing that coach. First thing I'm thinking about. Because all the guys that I loved are the ones that always lose. Rex Ryan, players can't stop raving about Rex. I mean, they'll go Christmas shopping for Rex. They'll cook him Thanksgiving dinner.
I have a different litmus test.
I mean, they will definitely do that. It disgusts me when I hear players talking about how much they love their coach, because you could always attach losing to the players who religiously love their coach. Respect is one thing, but I'm talking about the love affair, the affection, the adulation. I mean, it's like y'all going out on dates every Friday night or something. That's how they talk. Those guys that talk about their coach that way, the coach is usually losing. And I don't want to hear this about Gus Bradley. Jacksonville has been losing. Their talent is there. Something is wrong, and he needs to fix it quick, fast, in a hurry, or they need to replace him.
Well, once upon a time, I thought how you did about player coaches, but a little bit of a different spin on it. I used to look at it at the time when Tom Coughlin had such a beautiful family and the Giants weren't winning. This is pre-Super Bowl. I used to think, I want a coach with a dysfunctional family. Why is his family so good? He should be spending so much time at the office, so much time at the facility, that he has no time for his kids. I don't want well-adjusted kids for my head coach. A little bit different, but then Tom Coughlin showed it could be done. He won Super Bowls. I mean, you look at some really great coaches. Sometimes the family life isn't so good. They don't have any time for the kids.
He won Super Bowls twice over 9 years.
That's right.
And missed the playoffs the other 7.
That's okay.
So go ahead.
That's okay. He showed it. He turned my head around. He showed it could be done.
Go ahead.
About the Jags, real quick in that division.
Okay.
You're right. They haven't done anything yet. They are underachieving by a lot. They brought in an enormous amount of defensive talent, but it is fresh defensive talent. You know, guys who haven't played on the team, guys who haven't played in the NFL yet. But I can't remember ever hearing about a team or seeing a team bring in the level of possibly elite defenders all at once that they have. I think they need time to integrate it. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but they are going to be a much improved team in short order. That goes for the Jags. And Houston, look, Houston is in an exceptionally weak division. Without J.J. Watt, it's a wrap for them.